I've heard from many different travelers over the years how much they love Colombia and how much they love the people of Colombia. So I decided to come here and check it out myself firsthand, and I'm super glad that I did. My hosts in Pasto went way above and beyond. They're some of the best hosts that I've ever had. They made me feel welcome immediately, and basically I felt like I was on tour. I planned to spend 2 weeks, and I ended up staying a full month. And I plan to go back and visit them again before I return back to Ecuador. They took me to Carnaval de Negros y Blancos de Pasto. That's a 6-day festival that goes on in Pasto. It's the second biggest one in Colombia. And they were basically my tour guides for 3 days of Carnaval. And on my first night there, a couple of hours after I arrived, they invited me to go with them to a Yagé ceremony, an ayahuasca ceremony. And this was a really big deal. This was the inaugural event opening the Casa de Pensamientos in Obanuco, the House of Thoughts. It's a cultural center they just completed, and this was the grand opening. I was one of 2 non-locals there, and the other guy had been living in Colombia for years, so I felt very honored and privileged to be able to take part of that. Plus, a lot of plant medicine, plant baths, and hugs multiple times daily, every time my hosts came and went. This wasn't perfunctory. This was a part of their culture and a big part of making me feel like I am a part of the community and their family. Latin culture is warm, very welcoming, high touch. When they say you're part of the family, those aren't just empty words. They mean that. You become a part of the community and the family. This is Feelgood Friday for February 2026. These are stories I release on the first Saturday of the month, usually inspirational, positive, uplifting stories about my experiences of traveling, volunteering, and being on the road down here in South America. And this month was one of the most memorable experiences with some of the most amazing people that I've met since coming down here over 3 years ago. This isn't about what I did as a volunteer, not what I fixed or painted or created or helped clean up, nothing like that. This is about integrating into somebody's culture, into their community, and into their life, and being welcomed with open arms, and being welcomed back anytime in the future to enjoy more time with my new Colombian friends. When I arrived, my hosts were busy running around getting preparations together for the ceremony that night, so they filmed a video to show me, here's the way you get here, here's how you let yourself into the house on the farm, and we'll catch up with you in a couple hours. So I showed up at the house. His brother, my host brother, showed up and let me in, showed me around, made me feel at home, and I got to meet my hosts later that night. We got ready and went out for this Yagé ceremony, which went the entire night. There were about 70 or 80 people there. Like I said, I was one of 2 non-locals and the one who had just arrived in the country that day. Now that's a level of trust I wasn't expecting on day 1. They could have just said, hey, spend the night here, relax, catch up on some sleep, we're going to go do this ceremony, we'll see you in the morning, here's the food, here's whatever you need. They decided to make me a part of that ceremony, and I'm so grateful that they did. My hosts in Pasto, Daisy and Jairo, run a foundation called La Tribu, and that is based out of his parents' farm. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to have a horse. It was a dream of mine. On this property, there is a horse, Romy. It was amazing to be able to interact with this horse. It was like a childhood dream coming true. Every Sunday, there would be a family dinner of some kind. We would have a big meal, everybody would hang out. Sometimes there would be a family powwow afterwards where the daughters and the parents would talk about what's going on in the family, about any issues that they were concerned about, things like that. And I was there for all of it. They didn't say, oh, hey, can you leave? Like, no, you're part of the family. This is what it means to be part of the family. And they would often ask me for my input, and I would give them my thoughts on something, just giving life advice, sharing things that I could in the hopes that it would help them. And they always were very grateful and appreciative of my input. And this is what it means to be in a family. There's give and take. Some stuff is great, some stuff is not so great. And regardless, you work it out together. You air your grievances, people talk about it, you decide what are we going to do going forward, and that's it. And at the end of it, everybody hugs, and you continue on with your life. The food was traditional Andean cuisine, usually cooked on that wood stove. There would be multiple courses. Sometimes there would be a handful of people, maybe half a dozen. Other times there would be more than a dozen. And there would always be lively discussions. I caught most of them. Sometimes they would be talking too fast and I would miss bits and pieces here and there. But overall, I got a very unique insight into the workings of a family in Latin America and got to feel like I was part of the family. Those weren't empty words. When they said you're part of the community and part of our family and our good friend, they meant it. Now, a standard day on the farm, basically we would get up, have breakfast. There would be boiled eggs and buns and coffee and aromatica, or herbal tea, which generally consisted of them going to the garden and grabbing some herbs and putting together a fresh tea right out of the garden, which is an amazing way to start the day. Then either we would work on the farm, a lot of weeding in the gardens, either at her place or on the farm. And sometimes they would be gone for the night and say, hey, we're not going to be here, you have the place to yourself, see you in the morning. And I would feed the dogs and make sure that everything was okay and kind of hold down the fort, so sort of house sitting. So again, the trust factor very high. They left me there with their dogs, with all their possessions in their farm, this person that they just met a couple weeks before. And we had an amazing month together. It was really one of the highlights after almost 3 years of volunteering down here in South America. About a week and a half into my stay with Jairo and Daisy, I was washing the dishes after dinner one night and mentioned I'm looking for my next volunteer opportunity because I only have 90 days on a tourist visa and there's other parts of the country I'd like to see. And Jairo looked wounded. He looked hurt, like he was upset. And I realized, okay, this is a big deal. So I told him, okay, I'll stay here for a bit longer. I'll stay here and celebrate my birthday, which I haven't done literally in decades. For me, it's just another day. But I thought, well, this is a big thing. This is a thing that families do together, and they've already made it clear that they want me to stay here. For my birthday, his parents came in from town, and his brother and his brother's son, and they brought a cake and sang happy birthday, and we had a ceremony. Then we went out for lunch. Now, this is one of the dangers of being on the road, making real connections like this while I'm moving around from place to place. It has happened in the past 3 years that I've been traveling like this. Not often, and certainly not always, but I have had other hosts, sometimes expats and sometimes locals, with whom I've bonded. And I realize I would love to spend more time with these people, but the problem is I'm going to be moving around a lot and I don't know where I'm going to be or for how long I'm going to be in places. So when I was at Pasto with my hosts, one night I mentioned I'm looking for another volunteer placement, I'm going to be moving on, and like I said, Jairo looked kind of wounded and said, no, you're welcome here, you can stay here. And the next night he said to me, we don't care about Workaway, we don't care about, you're a volunteer, you're a part of our community, and now you're a part of our family. You're welcome here anytime, you can come back whenever you want, you can stay as long as you want. You're a family member for us and a good friend. And I realized in that moment, yeah, why would I want to leave? Like, I already had plans before I got there. Maybe I'll spend 2 weeks in each place. And then I realized I'm not likely to find another host like this. Like, they're not very common. And why wouldn't I spend more time with people who are sincere and wonderful and welcoming and invite me into their family? So I decided to stay the full month, and I'm glad I did. This is the thing about traveling the way that I do. A couple weeks here, a month there. When I do make sincere and real, genuine connections with people, I know that I'm not going to see them as often as I would like. But in this case, like they said, you're welcome to come back here, stay as long as you want, come back anytime. You're our friend. You're not just a volunteer. We don't care about any of that. You're a part of our family. You're welcome to spend time. And the other thing that he said was, I hope, and he said it multiple times, usually at family meetings. This is our good friend Steve from Canada. He's been here, and we've done this and this, and we're having a great time. And I hope that life makes it possible for us to spend more time together in the future. And it was heartfelt. And that kind of bond, in my experience, is not very common. I've traveled a lot in different parts of the world, and I met some very nice people. But there's usually a barrier, there's a limit somewhere. And with these guys, their hearts were wide open, and their homes and their families were wide open. There were no limits of any kind. And it was one of the most memorable volunteer experiences I've had in the last 3 years, over 30 different hosts across 2 different countries. This is the part of travel that you can't plan for and you can't optimize. You show up and you just be a good human being. And I've had amazing experiences with hosts all over Ecuador and now in Colombia. These hosts in Pasto, Jairo and Daisy and their family and their entire community were incredible. But I come in with no expectations other than I'm going to show up and help these people with whatever I can help them with. And that's it. That's the extent of it. I'm not expecting anything from them. I wasn't expecting any of the cultural immersion, the Yagé ceremony, the carnival experiences, the family dinners, none of that stuff. But you show up and these people open their homes and their families and their hearts to you. Daisy's maybe 4.5 feet tall. She's a short, indigenous woman with an enormous heart, very sincere. Jairo is Colombian, also very sincere, very committed. The both of them are committed to their mission at La Tribu, plant medicines, and trying to help people and heal people any way that they can. They did a lot of ceremonies, private ceremonies sometimes for friends or people that were dealing with family issues, and they would counsel them and do the plant baths and other ceremonies to help people integrate natural medicines and to improve on whatever the situations were that they were dealing with. It was a beautiful thing to see them giving back to the community. And for most of this stuff, they didn't charge anybody anything. They invited in guests. We hosted some dinners, Andean food, enormous amounts of food and stuff that I've never seen or eaten before. And it was an incredible experience to be a part of that, to be the token gringo showing up in a place where I didn't know anybody, and within a few days feeling like I was a part of the community and a part of their family. Now, sometimes just by showing up and being human, that opens the door to experiences like this. Not always, but sometimes. If you're looking to volunteer and get out on the road, we're not saying you're going to have these experiences, but be open to them. Don't go in with expectations or limitations of any kind. Just look, I'm going to do my best to help these people. And if you sit down and open up with them, it's pretty amazing what can happen. Showing up, looking to serve somebody else, and coming out with way more than I feel that I contributed to them. So thank you very much, Daisy and Jairo and La Tribu, the whole community, for welcoming me into your world. Looking forward to seeing you before I go back to Ecuador, and ideally for future visits as well. And on my last day, we went on a tour to a waterfall. When people make you family, and they mean it, you show up. You make time for things that are important to you. I will definitely make the time and get to spend at least a week before I head back to Ecuador to hang out with my Colombian friends. If this story resonated with you, please drop a like, a comment, subscribe, and please share these videos with anybody that you think could benefit by them. Feelgood Fridays is part of a series that I started a while ago, and every month, to kick the month off, it's the first video that I release in terms of here's a great experience that I had on the road. Here's some wonderful people I met. If you've had any experience like that where you show up in a place and you're not from there and somebody invites you in and makes you feel like family, please drop a comment below and let us know about that. I love hearing those stories. There's so much negativity going on in the news and everything's divisive and trying to get people to fight and just be nasty with each other. And my experience on the road over the last 3+ years and almost 3 years of volunteering is that there are amazing people all over the world. And these people, Jairo and Daisy, that I met at La Tribu in Pasto, Colombia, are some of the best people, literally, that I've met in all my travels over decades, over many different parts of the world. I would encourage you, if you want to get out on the road, please check out the other videos on the channel. If you have any specific questions about volunteering or traveling or any of the stuff that I'm doing, drop them below or drop me a note at Instagram, Street Smart Travels. If you want, you can also check out the website, streetsmarttravel.com. Drop me a line there. I'm happy to answer any questions, share any information about my experience on the road. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Feelgood Friday. Happy trails. See you out on the road.